afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Lifestyle CEO Show. I'm your host, Donna Maria, the original Lifestyle CEO, and you have arrived at the place where we empower you to break all the rules, build your own corporate ladder, and create the life you love. Today is Monday, April 10th. I hope everyone's doing well and you have sunshine like I do here in the Washington, D.C. area. I am so excited to have a fellow Washingtonian here with me on today's show. I'd like to introduce you to Amy Robinson, the Director of Communications and Media Relations for the Direct Selling Association. For all you people out there, and I know you're out there because you email me and call me all the time, who are interested in making the most of a direct sales model, either as an entrepreneur that owns the business or as an independent consultant for a company where you're using a direct sales model to grow your own business, Amy is an expert at both, and she is here to join us today to tell us what direct selling is and how it can help you as a small business owner. Amy, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
You are quite welcome, and I am just so excited to be able to present someone with your background and the level of information that you have about the direct sales industry, because so many people, they kind of know what it is or they're working in it, but they really don't have the background on what it is. So let's just start there with the basic background of the Direct Selling Association. I understand it started with one of the precursors to the Avon Company.
Yes, that's true. In fact, our association itself dates back to 1910, but direct selling really goes back much further than that. Really, we even like to say that it started with the Yankee peddler, who would sell his wares from house to house, pots and pans and spices and that type of thing. Mm-hmm. But certainly, in more modern times, you have the Avon, which started in the late 1800s, as well as the Southwestern Company, which sells books, and Stanley Home Products, which sold a number of products for the home. So we certainly do have a long history, and as we move into the 21st century, and we certainly have many more companies that are selling just thousands of different types of products and services that are of interest to a lot of different types of people.
Right. Well, for people who might not know, let's just kind of do a comparison. I mean, obviously, if you want to sell shoes, you can open a shoe store, and your customers will find you in your shoe store and buy your shoes. And there's other business models as well. Can you tell us exactly what direct selling is as a business model?
Sure. Well, the technical definition that we use is the sale of a product or service in a person-to-person manner away from a fixed retail location. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. But essentially, it's the sale of any product or service that you sell from one seller to either one individual, or perhaps there's a seller in a party plan setting, a group setting. Mm-hmm. You probably know a lot of people are probably very familiar with Tupperware, perhaps the Pampered Chef, Longaberger. Sure. Those are all very well-known party plan companies. Mm-hmm. And so, it's really a great way to get together with people and, look at great products, try them out. It's great to have hands-on experience with products and be able to ask people about them. So it's very interesting.
Now, Amy, what is the difference, if there is a difference, between direct selling and network marketing? Because they're both kind of, I've heard them used interchangeably before.
Sure, a lot of people do, and that's fine. It's really what you're doing when you're a seller for a direct selling company is you're using your network of people, those your family, your friends, and those people who you come in contact with wherever it might be, in the grocery store, in the bank, at the PTA, and it's just to sell high quality products and services. And now some people use network marketing to refer more specifically to the type of compensation plan that is used by some of the companies, but in general, network marketing can certainly be used to describe direct selling in general, either party plan or person-to-person.
Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about compensation plans, but it sounds like, you've done an extraordinary job of describing it. Sort of, I started out by talking about a retail store, and you're talking about everything else. So is that kind of like we can just kind of look at it that way? We've all heard of direct sales companies before. Many of us, me included, have actually been independent consultants for one or two of them in the past. So it sounds like with direct selling, if you are an entrepreneur or a business owner, you could use the direct sales business model to sell your products and grow your business, or if you don't really want to own the business, so to speak, yourself, or own the brand, you could join a company that has direct sales as its business model, and you can work as an independent consultant. Is that kind of how it breaks out?
That's absolutely true. There are definitely opportunities in both of those areas that you mentioned. We, in fact, have a lot of companies in our membership that did exactly that. It was a single person, entrepreneur, who had a particular product or service that they were really passionate about. And the business really kind of just grew from there. In fact, we have a number of people who started their businesses in their basement. And probably one of the most well-known is the Pampered Chef. Their founder, Doris Christopher, started her business just that way. And, of course, now we all know it's very successful. And we have many other companies in our membership that started, just with humble roots just like that and are now very successful companies.
And is it like franchising, or is it different from franchising?
It has some of the same characteristics of franchising, but it is a little bit different. The startup costs are very low for those who want to get involved as a seller. So essentially, say you're the owner of the business, you would have individuals who they're called a number of different things, but we'll call them sales representatives, who would get a starter kit from you that might not have any cost associated with it. It might be $99, $100, whatever the price is. Based on what you're getting back for that investment, probably some samples, catalogs, order forms, that type of thing. So then you're affiliated with the company, and then you would go out and sell the products to your network of acquaintances, family, friends, as we discussed before, the people you meet in the grocery store.
Right.
And then you make most of the companies you order directly from the company. The sales representative would, based on the orders that they've received, and then you usually get a commission of some type off of out of the sales that you make. So, say you sell $100 worth of product, you might get a $25 commission from that. And then people who a lot of people become your loyal customers, and they'll call you for reorders and whatnot. So it's a great way to build a business, either your own products, or if you have a company that you want to affiliate with to make some extra money that way as well.
Now, is direct selling? You're talking about selling products. Is it suitable for selling services as well, or is that a little bit different?
Absolutely. We do have a number of companies that sell different types of services. We have some financial services, some life insurance, tax services, that type of thing.
Okay. So it sounds like it's very versatile, and you can really almost anything that you want to sell can be positioned in this business model, and you can just basically repeat the process over and over again across the country with different sales reps.
That's absolutely true. And we find that some of the products that are best suited for direct selling are those that benefit by way of demonstration. Because really, particularly with the party plan, but also very true with the person-to-person method, is that you're actually physically there with someone who is very familiar with the product and probably uses it themselves, and probably knows a little bit about you too. Even if they don't know you personally, they probably know someone who knows you, so they're familiar with your values and the things that you like, and so they're really able to describe to you why this product will fulfill your needs. You're able to try it out, and see all the different features of it that you may not necessarily see if you're just looking at this product on the store shelf. If you're just trying to decide between two products in a store, well, maybe it's packaged up and you can't really open it, or, maybe you really can't even just tell by looking at the packaging what some of the really great features are. But with direct selling, you can hold it in your hand. You have someone who uses it who says, this is one way you might use it, or you might try this other way. And then all of a sudden, this product has, 4 times more uses for it than you might have discovered on your own. So it's really a fantastic way to market products.
So let's say I am a manufacturer of a body care product, which I didn't pull that out of the air. Most of the listeners to the show have consumer products in that kind of area, and they sell them usually on the Internet and sometimes in retail stores. And I get a lot of questions from these companies about what is the first thing that I need to do if I want to begin to sell my products using the direct sales method. What should I do? I probably should join the DSA.
Well, certainly. We do actually have a membership category called Subscriber Status, which actually is exactly for companies who haven't yet started selling but are interested in the direct selling model and want to learn more about it.
That's great to know. So there's a category that costs less than the full-fledged membership for people who are in investigative stage?
Yes, it is. There's a 2-year time limit on it, so it does come at a very reasonable price, individuals who are in this type of a situation can certainly become affiliated with the association. And so, we do have many resources that are available to companies. And the most important of which, I have to say, really is the networking that's available. We have so many companies that really got their start because they came to some of our events and were able to talk to people from Avon, from Mary Kay, from the Pampered Chef, and learned a lot of things that they might not have otherwise known, and avoided some pitfalls that they might have run into if they hadn't been forewarned about them. So that's really one of the best benefits that we can offer. But we certainly do have other website resources, many educational offerings.
That sounds real. I've got to make sure people go there, the DSA.org. So if I'm interested in that once I join, or if I'm thinking about joining, what do I do? What is the first thing that I do? Do I have to look and see if other people are out there selling my products using this model, or what is it that I look for to say, I want to start a direct selling company, maybe I want some reps in 4 different states. Let's say I want to start in my own region. What do I do first?
Well, I'll tell you, the first thing that a lot of people do, and really the way that a lot of these companies really start, is kind of by looking inward and finding out what is the story about your company. Because a lot of direct selling companies, that's part of the interest in a lot of the companies, because there's a story behind it.
Okay.
For example, say you love these particular products, but you always kind of wanted to have a different twist on the products. For some, maybe there's some particular, let's take Bath & Body products, for example. Perhaps you have some particular skin allergy or something along those lines, and you found something that really works for you, but you can't buy it on the store shelf. So, you start making those products for yourself, and, perhaps your friends and family find out about them too, and, well, wow, that really works for them as well. So that's kind of your story behind how this got started. What is it that, made you create these products, or, have an interest in these products? And that really, that takes you a long way, because that's something interesting about your company. It's a reason why people are interested in your products and will try them out.
I'm so glad you said that. We're going to take a short break, but I want to just echo that, what you just said, being important no matter what kind of business you're in. The story behind how the business started is often just as important to the person buying the product or service as the actual product or service itself.
Absolutely.
So attracted to, that mom out there who had such and such a problem and she solved it, and now all these people with the same problem can buy the same product and use the product and be inspired, to pursue some of their dreams at the same time. We're going to take our first break, Amy. We're going to come back in just a few minutes and follow up on that. Once you get your story together, what do you do next? For you guys out there listening, the toll-free listener call-in number for your question or comment to Amy is 800-773-0355. This is the Lifestyle CEO Show. We'll be right back.
Why is everyone listening to GlobalTalkRadio.com? Because it's the future of talk radio. Every day, more and more people are finding Internet radio as not just an alternative media, but as a replacement to traditional AM and FM broadcast stations. Internet radio offers a wider variety of programs, convenient on-demand listening that meets your schedule, and fewer commercial interruptions. And GlobalTalkRadio.com is already leading the way by matching this content with a highly targeted Internet audience. GlobalTalkRadio.com offers its listeners one of the widest programming varieties on the Internet, from business and finance to self-improvement, paranormal, health, literature, romance, politics, and more. There are also opportunities for prospective hosts who would like to host their own weekly or one-time talk shows. Want to learn more? Check us out at www.globaltalkradio.com and see the future of talk radio today.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Lifestyle CEO Show. We are here today talking with Amy Robinson of the Direct Selling Association. She is sharing with us some really great information about how to use the direct sales business model to grow your business. And Amy, before we took our first break, we were talking about the things, maybe a short little checklist of things that an entrepreneur can and should do in order to get started with a direct selling business model, selling their products via direct sales. And the first thing you said was to get your story together and describe how everything started, and so you can tell everybody what your story is. What are some of the other things that you need to do at the beginning?
Well, I think one of the most important things is that, we all need help. We all need help, right? Mm-hmm. we can't do anything by ourselves. So what I would really suggest, we have so many great people in this industry who you can both contact as either mentors or find yourself a good consultant who can help you through some of the initial stages of setup. One of the most important things about a direct selling company is, of course, to have a good compensation plan. Because, of course, many people get into direct selling because they are looking for some extra income. There are, of course, other reasons to become a sales representative, but one of the primary ones for a lot of people is that extra income. So you have to make sure that your plan is going to work well with your products and the way that your business operates. So. And the compensation plan is a very complex. Setting one up is very complex. So I would certainly suggest that you talk to someone about how this might work for your business and what is going to be the best equation for your business as far as the compensation goes.
Yeah, I would imagine that would probably be the biggest chunk of planning for once you get your products together and you know what you're going to sell, because there are so many different ways to compensate people, and there's no rule that says you have to do it one particular way. And once you pick one, or maybe you have more than one, depending on the level of sales or where they are in the country, you might also need to get some kind of software or something so you can track the sales, right?
Absolutely. There are lots of different elements towards setting up a compensation plan. And you're right, once you have a compensation plan in place, it is very difficult to change it. It certainly can and is done all the time. But once your sales base gets used to a compensation plan, they don't like to change very much. Even if it's going to be in their favor, change is hard. So you want to make sure you have something that's going to work for your business, and really takes into account all the different elements of your business. And you're right, there are lots of different ways to compensate people. And so it's very important that you talk to someone who really knows a lot about compensation plans and can take the elements of your business and assimilate that into a plan that's going to work.
Right. We've got a caller from San Diego. Henriette, are you there?
Yes, I am, Don. I'm here. The question I had initially was, I'm definitely going to join the DSA.org, and I think it's awesome that they have that 2-year plan, especially for, the procrastinators and the those of us who like to take our time because, we're just so afraid to get your feet wet into this.
Right. What's your question?
Yeah, my question is, as far as offering the plan, just like you said, there's no particular, rule that says you have to pay this amount, but it's like, okay, you have 20 products. How, is there a written or a guideline of something so that, when we're getting into this, it's as if we were doing a marketing or a business plan that would help us further tighten what we're offering and how to set this up and how we go about getting, direct sale agents? Do we put the ads in the paper? Do we, not get on television, but how do we solicit these agents and all these other things that we need to do to get into the direct sale arena?
Good questions, Henriette. Thank you. Did you hear those, Amy?
I did, and actually that's a perfect segue into what my next item on our checklist was going to be, which is building your base. And really, it's when you're first starting out, especially if you're an entrepreneur who's really starting from scratch with your business, it's really important to build your base of those first sales representatives. In many cases, it's people who are your friends and family who have maybe even suggested to you that you sell your products this way. Get them to get out there and talk to their friends and family, and recruit them as your first sales reps. And, make them an integral part of your business. And you'll be surprised at how fast that word of mouth will help you grow your business. And, you might, want to have, depending upon how you want to start, you might have some, you might advertise for some meetings in a hotel or, at a regional area where you introduce people to the company. In fact, about a year ago, I went to basically the launch of one of our members. And they did just that. They advertised that they were having a meeting, and they described the plan and introduced people to the products. This happened to be a food products company, and they had samples of the products out there and described the plan. It was very low pressure. They basically just introduced you to the company if you were interested. I know they had some people that signed up, and if you weren't interested, well, you had some snacks along the way. It's all about getting out there and talking about your company, and talking about the benefits of being involved, and talking about your products.
Right.
And because these are consumer products and services that are being sold. Just like you could buy on the store in the shelf. The shelf in the store. It's marketing. You need to get out there and talk about your products and introduce people to your company, and hope that you get some loyal consumers to keep using your products.
Yeah, I love that suggestion that you made about getting together at a hotel or some other location. I was just reading USA Today, and in one of the business sections, there was a story about the woman who started. It originally started out as Kinder Gym and eventually became Gymboree. And she started by having the classes, and this is obviously started out as a service and not a product, but she started out by having classes in very low-cost places like church cafeterias and things where there was just basically a fee to open the door and nothing else. And, of course, she was, again, offering classes and things, so it's not a product, but she was able to just by word of mouth and choosing places that were already social gathering places and putting up flyers or whatever they allow you to put up. And so many people see those things and they tell their friends and they tell their friends, and word just starts to spread.
That's absolutely true. And, this is a word-of-mouth business. A lot of our companies don't even have advertising budgets because their sellers are the people who are doing their advertising for them. They would prefer to put the money they might spend on advertising back into the commissions for their sellers. So, certainly any way that you can get the word of mouth out. If you're starting in your own community, certainly you could use your local paper, or if you have a community bulletin board, whatever you can do to get the word out about your company, and then you can spread the word from there.
All right. Now, let's say I'm like a massage therapist, and I have a mobile massage, service where I will come to your office, and I contract with maybe the concierges or the office managers of different office buildings, downtown, and I come in, and for a certain amount of money, you can get a soldier massage or whatever. Is it the same kind of process if you want to set that up someplace else or have somebody else do the next town over because you're only one person? Is that the kind of service that direct selling could set a business model for that kind of service, or is it more?
That might be a little bit different than what we traditionally look at as direct selling, but certainly, if you're interested in doing something like that, I think some of the setup processes might be the same as you would do for direct selling, because certainly, you want to get the word out about your service, and if you want to have other people who are offering those same services, certainly, it's all about getting information about your business out there. Not unlike traditional companies as well. There are a lot of similarities between setting up a direct selling company and setting up a traditional business. But you do have some advantages when it comes to direct selling, though, because you don't have to do all that advertising because you are relying on your word of mouth. Certainly you can do advertising, but if you don't necessarily have to. The other element that a lot of people don't think of is the need for product in advance. With direct selling, you don't necessarily need to have an entire warehouse full of product in advance.
Because you can set it up to either ship directly or some other kind of way after the order's placed.
If you're trying to get on the shelf in a retail store, for example, you have to manufacture that product and send it out to all the retail stores before anybody's going to be able to buy your product. But with direct selling, particularly with some types of products, you don't even have to create the product until you've got the order for it. That's very conducive to particularly small operations that can't necessarily make that investment, of $1 million or $2 million in upfront costs for product. Of course, you want to deliver your product as soon as you possibly can after it's ordered, but it does give you a little bit of leeway in not having to have like I said, a whole warehouse full of product, where you even have cash in hand for those products.
Right. And depending on the product, if you've networked really well in advance of starting your business, you can have contractors available to make them. So you don't have to do all that either if it's something that is, fairly easy for people who know what they're doing to duplicate. So get your story, your compensation plan, start recruiting the inner circle. And what you're talking about in terms of recruiting is so goes right back to the story, because the people who you recruit are going to be attracted to you in part because of your story, right?
Absolutely right.
Okay. We've got a caller, Jenna from Minnesota. She's actually a member of DSA. She's got a question, too. Jenna, are you there?
I'm here. How are you, Donna Maria?
I'm doing great. How are you? Welcome to the Lifestyle CEO Show.
Thank you. Hi, Amy. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
What's your question or comment, Jenna?
Yes, we are actually members of both the DSA and the Handmade Beauty Network, and I just wanted to throw in a few comments about. Amy alluded to the importance of connecting and networking with others in this industry, and I would strongly recommend that. When I started out in the industry 5 years ago, I really didn't understand it, and if I did not have that networking, we would not be where we are at today. Something else I just wanted to add is just know the cost up front. We talk a lot about that compensation plan. You talk a lot about the software. Those are not inexpensive ventures, and being aware of that up front, I think, will certainly help any business. Most businesses, when they get into this market, usually are undercapitalized, and speaking as one of them to start with. And it took us a while to understand what we needed and where we needed to go, and I just wanted to add that to the listeners, that really research what you are looking to do, and there's obviously grassroots ways to make it work, but having that compensation plan done by a professional or a business consultant and getting the correct software to work your business will certainly help. And, Amy, you mentioned getting out there and networking, and we still do that. Even after 4 years from our launch, we still go out to the hotels and hold informational gatherings and bring in the people. So that's something I think you're always continually doing as your business is growing.
So, Jenna, did you join DSA after you started doing network direct sales or before, or was it around the same time?
It was around the same time. I also fell into it. My story matches a lot of what Amy talked about with having my own products and producing them and finding a niche for them. Where we had the advantage, right now is a great opportunity for new companies. They did not have the subscriber opportunity at that time, and there is a year-long process to become a member. So you really do have to have all your ducks in a row, if you will. But
that's
we started
great.
going to conferences right away, and the networking was great.
Right, again, also a member of the Handmade Beauty Network. Thank you for calling in, Jenna, and letting everybody know that if they join DSA, you're one of the great people that they'll get a chance to network with.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Amy, we're going to take our next break. That Jenna is a member of the Handmade Beauty Network, and I know she's said such wonderful things about your organization over the years as well. So I'm so excited that she got a chance to call in and share from her experiences. We're going to take a short break. This is the Lifestyle CEO Show. We'll be right back.
Want to stay on top of what's new in the radio industry? Sign up for a free subscription to the Future of Talk Radio, available exclusively to listeners of globaltalkradio.com, and find out what's new in the world of online radio. Listeners can find out about new shows and special guests. People with something special to offer can find out how to become a guest and how to prepare for an interview. And prospective hosts will find a valuable resource for everything from planning their new program to selecting topics and guests, recouping expenses by selling advertising, and more. Sign up today for your free subscription to the Future of Talk Radio by visiting www.globaltalkradio.com and learn about the future of talk radio today.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Lifestyle CEO Show. We are here having a lively discussion with Amy Robinson of the Direct Selling Association in Washington, D.C., a trade organization representing the interests of companies that use a direct sales business model to sell their products and services. And, Amy, before we took our break, one of your members had called in and talked about the importance of having, some basic things in place. And she echoed what you said about the compensation plan and having something solid that you can actually tell your potential sales reps about. And so it makes me wonder, I guess the importance of that goes far beyond, you have to get your product together, obviously. It works or it doesn't work, or it smells good or it doesn't smell good. But in terms of compensation, Jenna made me think about how the last thing you want to do as a small business owner is owe somebody money for working for you, for someone who's, feeding their family or relying on that money. So the compensation plan can really, make or break you if it's done incorrectly or correctly, right?
Well, sure, because you do want to incentivize the people who are selling your products and services to sell more products and services. That's what businesses are about. Is selling the product and service that they specialize in. So certainly, these the individuals who are selling your product are definitely affiliating with you, it's important to be able to compensate them for the products and services they have sold. So certainly, it's really important to have a strong compensation plan in place. There are lots of ins and outs to setting up a compensation plan, particularly as your company grows, and particularly if you're using a multi-level compensation plan. It can get very complicated. So it is important to have that solid base in place.
And multi-level, you kind of mentioned that means in addition to like a commission for the sale of the product, you also get a commission for sales of the product made by people that are not you, people in like a downline or
exactly.
Okay,
right. So if you have brought say you've sponsored someone to also sell the product, so you might get a percentage of the products, the sales of the products that they've sold as well.
Wow. So sometimes those people stop selling or something happens, they just don't want to do it anymore, and then where does that money go? You have to have all that stuff figured out in advance, huh?
Sure. Well, it's always very important to continue selling products and services. I mean, you shouldn't count on your downline to make sales for you. I mean, you are selling products and services as a direct seller, so that's really an important element of direct selling. So, but certainly, many people, entrepreneurs who get started as direct sellers, that's a very important thing for them to be able to manage others who they brought into the business. Just like you would in a traditional workplace.
Right.
So you're in charge of motivating those people, helping them out. Maybe they've hit a sales slump. You can be a mentor to them to suggest ways that they might be able to reinvigorate their own business. So certainly there's a lot of really important elements to the relationship with your upline and your downline.
Wow, a whole lot to think about. Now, let's just say you don't want to think about all those things, but you do want to have your own business. And you're interested in looking at, or you've heard about different sales rep opportunities where you can sell the products or services of other companies and have your own business without having to deal with all those details. Amy, how on earth do you choose? I mean, well, you can tell me this, too. It seems like there has been a huge upsurge in the number of companies using direct sales. I mean, I've purchased some products over the years in my life, and all of a sudden now I'm seeing that they're offering party plans.
Well, we have, in fact, seen an incredible explosion in the number of different types of products and services that are sold via direct selling. Many people think of cosmetics and wellness products, home decor products. Those are all really important elements of direct selling. Many companies are out there selling those products in those product lines. And like I said, we have many companies that are currently selling those and are really contributing a lot to the industry based on those products and services. But we've also seen a lot of really interesting more new interesting products coming onto the market. We have companies that are selling pet products. We have companies that are doing scrapbooking. We have companies that are doing spa parties and just a whole lot of interesting things. In-home photo parties. I mean, the list just goes on and on of the interesting types of products that you can purchase, and new twists on traditional selling. It's so much fun to do a lot of the parties that have like gourmet cooking mixes and that type of thing, because you get to go to the party and you get to try out these new mixes. You might learn a new cooking technique. There's just so many different interesting things that you can be exposed to.
I bet there's a lot of growth and innovation going on too, because with all these new types of people getting involved in it, I imagine they're coming out with all kinds of new ideas. But what if you don't want to have your own, you don't want to own your own brand, you don't want to be involved in managing other people, and you just want to choose the right direct selling opportunity for you? What do you look at? How do you choose, and how do you avoid some of the scams out there? I'm sure none of them are members of your organization because you screen everyone, but how do you avoid some of the people out there just trying to make a quick buck?
Well, we have several guidelines set up that we suggest that people use when they're trying to decide on an opportunity. And you did touch briefly on the fact that all DSA members do go through a 1-year pending process after you actually make application to the association. There's a 1-year process that we go through where we, look at your business materials, make sure that you completely comply with the DSA Code of Ethics, which is actually designed to protect both consumers of the product and consumers of the opportunity. We talk to attorneys general, Better Business Bureaus, all that, many different organizations, just to make sure that your company is operating in a way that's consistent with our ethical code. But also, obviously, so if you start with our member list, you're already one step into the process because we've done a lot of that legwork for you.
And that's available at your website, right? For free, people can go look at the member database without having to. Okay, good.
And you can search by product category and a number of different other searchable fields as well. So what I would suggest you do is, first of all, the product or service that you choose to sell, you have to like it. It has to be something that interests you because, it's selling. You're going to be out there talking about these products, demonstrating these products, using these products. So it certainly has to be something that's of interest to you. So that's first of all, where I'd start. I'd look at our product and service listing and see, what areas might be of interest to you. Then I'd pick out a few companies. Don't be swayed by whether you know the name or not, or whether they're large or small, because it really is a very personal decision for each individual who's interested in this as to what type of company they might affiliate with. Some people might like a company that has a really well-known brand name because they can kind of start from there. Say, well, I'm a representative for X company. Oh, I know that company. I've heard of them. Other people, they like the exact opposite. They like to be able to go out and say, hey, I'm working for this great new company. Let me tell you all about it. So that, those are some things you want to take into consideration. You want to call the company. You want to talk to them about their compensation plan. You want to talk to them about their business operations. Obviously, you might be getting involved in this because of someone who has suggested to you that this might be an opportunity for you. But don't stop there. Feel free to call the company and ask them questions specifically. They will answer your questions. If they're a legitimate company, they will be more than happy to talk to you about the opportunity that their company offers because they want you to be happy as a seller too. They want to bring you into their fold, and they want you to sell their products, of course, but they want you to be happy and have a good time doing it. So those are some things you need to look out for. Also, you need to, particularly if a company that you're interested in affiliating with is not a member of the Direct Selling Association, you want to look at a couple things. You want to look at what your startup cost is going to be. You want to look at what that startup kit costs. And it should be reasonable based on what you're going to get in return for that. I spoke a few minutes ago about you're probably going to get some product samples, catalogs, order forms, training manual, that type of thing. You just need to make sure that what you're paying is reasonable based on what you're going to get back. Then you want to make sure that you're actually selling a product or service that's going to be sold to the ultimate consumer of that product. So, you want to make sure that there's a product that, you're actually going to sell to, your neighbor and that your neighbor's actually going to use it. It's not just going to sit in your neighbor's garage and, go to waste. It's going to be an actual product that person is going to use.
And it's you selling it directly to the person. In other words, you're not buying it to go and sell it like in your own retail store or at a place where, or maybe a friend of yours who owns a retail store. It's not that kind of setup. It's directly to the person that's ultimately going to use the product or maybe give it away as a gift.
Yes, in most cases, that's what we're talking about.
Okay.
Really, the alternate that I would get to is that you don't just want to be selling the next person a bunch of inventory just to get them into the business, and then they're just going to sell that same inventory to someone else for a fee. That is not necessarily the way direct selling is supposed to work. You're selling someone a product or service that they're actually going to use. So, that's one of the things you need to look at. Make sure there's actually a product that's being sold to the person who's going to use it. And the last thing, in kind of the short list of things you want to look at, is to make sure that there is basically a buyback policy with any inventory that you might purchase. So say you get into the business, you decide it's not for you, you should be able to return any inventory and required inventory purchases that you've had to make in the past 12 months. DSA members, for example, are required to we have a 90% buyback policy. So any required inventory and sales aids that you've had to purchase in the past 12 months, you should be able to return those to the company, with a few exceptions. You
get your money back?
And get your money back, essentially, yeah. So it's very 90%? Low risk.
Any time or just within the first year?
Basically, if you decide to leave the business, anything that you've purchased in the past 12 months,
Okay.
You should be able to return.
Okay.
Say you have in your sales aids for that matter, like your startup kit.
Right.
You should be able to return.
Okay.
Like I said, there are a few.
Oh.
It's basically marketable inventory that's returnable.
Sure. Okay.
So
that's great.
There are some specific guidelines, but in general, that's how the process works.
Those are wonderful tips.
It's designed to protect people from making large investments that end up being something that doesn't work for them. So the idea of this is that it's very easy to get in, it's low cost to get started, and there's low risk.
Right, and it should work for you, and that's really great. That's a wonderful requirement. We're going to take our final break. The call-in number to call your question or comment into Amy from the Direct Selling Association is 800-773-0355. This is the Lifestyle CEO Show. We'll be right back.
You're listening to GlobalTalkRadio.com.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the final segment of the Lifestyle CEO Show. I'm your host, Donna Maria, and I'm so excited to have you here this afternoon. We are doing a great show with Amy Robinson of the Direct Selling Association, and Amy's been sharing with us some priceless tips on how to start your direct sales business as the owner of the company, and also how to get into direct sales as a sales rep, how to choose the right opportunity for you, and how to make it all work. She's provided some great tips. I hope if you're just tuning in, you'll have to make sure you go to the website and listen to the show again if you missed the first part. We've got a caller in, Rick from Rhode Island. Are you there?
I'm here.
Hi, welcome to the show.
What a great show! I'll tell you, the internet is a wonderful tool. I'll tell you, because I just discovered your show today, and this was excellent insight. And being the CEO of a company who kind of is looking to challenge some of these obstacles that your guest has been talking about, has just kind of prompted my mind as to I'm already, and I won't mention my company or anything because I'm not looking for a sales pitch here, but I tell you, we already sell retail and we already sell globally, but our product has the same problem that the guest was talking about, is that our product has to be demonstrated, and if it's not demonstrated, then we're missing sales. And this is it is something that would absolutely be of I think astronomical value to our company if we could harness a sales force that could sell directly in the home or where our product is most valued, which is in the sports market. If we could kind
so you're looking to get started in using this as a business model to grow your products?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Amy, how can he get started doing that?
Well, yeah, this is a fabulous question, because I talked a little bit earlier about the trend of a lot of small companies getting involved because it's easy for them to get into the market, and the low startup costs as far as not having to have all their product and everything. But on the opposite end of that spectrum, we're also seeing a lot of very large, very established companies that are getting into direct selling, companies that traditionally sell via the retail model, who are opening direct selling arms. And this is a really interesting trend for us because I think it speaks very loud and clear about the frustration that some consumers have with the level of customer service that they demand. With so many different shopping options out there, people can demand really a high level of customer service. And when they don't get it, they have other options. So direct selling is really great because that's exactly what direct sellers do. They provide that personal shopping experience. You have a representative who is dedicated to talking to you. They know everything there is to know about the product. They use it themselves. They probably know something about you. So it's a fantastic way to reach a new consumer market. These companies that are getting... I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying it's interesting what Rick is talking about is if he pursues this successfully, it's a whole nother revenue stream. And I mean, the product is already there; those costs are already expended or being accounted for. And moving into this area, I mean, I've seen it so many times. Just again, not mentioning any names, but cosmetics companies, a couple of them that I've been buying and for years when I'm not making my own beauty products or using Handmade Beauty Network member products, they've just been in the shopping mall, and all of a sudden someone was coming to me saying, do you want to sell our products at home parties? And there's also a women's magazine that's been around for years, and now they actually have set up a direct sales organization that sells the products that they advertise in their magazine.
Yes, that's absolutely true. We do have a number of companies that are very established retail companies that you may have in your local mall that have started very successful direct selling companies. Some companies, in fact, most of the companies I think that have gone this route, they actually have kind of a slightly different product line that they're using in their at-home model. But there are some that in fact have the exact same product line that they sell in their retail stores as they do in the home store, and they've through the home model, and they've made it a very conscious effort to make it a partnership between the stores and those home sellers to make sure that they can work together, and it has worked out fabulously. There's one company in particular that I'm thinking of, and it has worked out really well for them to make that connection between those stores, particularly the store managers, and the individuals who are selling in the home. And it's really very interesting because it has a lot to do with brand loyalty. There obviously are hundreds of thousands of people out there who don't use a particular product, and of course companies in their desire to grow are always looking for ways to reach those consumers. If you can reach them in their home, you've definitely made that connection. If they have that great experience with you in the home, the next time they see your products on the shelf, that's going to be it's almost kind of like a blinking light in front of your product. To say, you've had this experience with me, purchase me. So, it's really a great way to, it's almost like having kind of a little commercial running next to your product on the shelf. If they have that in their head, they're going to have that brand loyalty for your product.
Right. It sounds like, Rick, it's the perfect time to head on over to DSA.org and see what they have to offer, because if you already have the products already available and they're already selling, then they're marketable. There's a market for them. This is just a whole nother. It's almost like when the Internet started, then the Internet became a different way to sell the same product, and direct selling is a different way to sell the same product.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the most interesting things about thinking about this model and why it's such a great model is I heard a statistic a couple of years ago that almost every single consumer has at some point yelled at a salesperson in a store.
Okay.
And to me, when thinking back, I was like, that's kind of a sad statistic. You shouldn't have that kind of interaction with people in the store. But I think it shows how much people demand when they go into a store. They really want personal service, and they expect it. And when we don't get it, it's frustrating.
Right.
So you don't want to have those kind of interactions.
Right.
And this is given the venue that most direct selling takes place in the home, in the comfort of someone's home. It's a very comfortable atmosphere. You're with your friends and family. It's a fabulous way to shop and find out and try new products. So, really for the companies who are interested in selling products this way, for the people who are interested in selling, affiliating with a company and selling products, and for the people who are interested in buying products. And this is a winner for all three of those groups.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I'm just really excited about the possibilities here, and the fact that the opportunity is open to anyone, no matter what business you have, and also open to anyone if you don't want to own the business, you just want to be an independent sales rep. And you can duplicate this if you're a person who's at home and you want to make some additional income to supplement the family income or whatever. You can choose from any number of direct sales companies, and you can choose more than one, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, there's nothing that says you have to only work with one.
In most cases, that's true, but you certainly can, choose a company that is that works for you, that has a product or service that you're interested in, that fits your schedule, that fits your goals. People have many different types of goals when they get into direct selling. Some people, are looking for a little bit of extra income. Some people are just looking for a little bit of extra social contact, frankly. We have lots of stay-at-home moms who are interested in this, and really, it might not even be the money for them. It might just be meeting new people.
Right, and I tell you, there are a lot of women that I work with in my business coaching practice who have they're independent sales reps for different companies, but they also have like a complementary business. I'll give you an example. One of my my friends sells products like children's magazines through a direct sales company. She's an independent rep for this company, and she also teaches mothers how to homeschool their children.
Mm-hmm.
So her business, she's got two. She teaches people how to homeschool their children, and she has her own course materials to teach parents how to do that. And she also sells the children's magazines, and so she has an avenue through which she can sell those in addition to like traditional home parties or whatever. She's also got her another business that she uses to sell those through.
Sure, and that definitely goes back to choosing a product or service that works for you. Because if you have an interest, that's certainly something that you're going to want to look at. And that's you want to use it as part of your process, your research process, when you're interested in getting involved with a company. Because different companies have different rules about things like that, and if you can sell for other companies and that type of thing. So you certainly want to check those kind of things out. But absolutely, that's where you should start, is something that is of interest to you.
Okay, that's a good point. And some of them might have some kind of restrictions. I guess that just goes to show you have to make sure you get their information and read it very carefully so you make sure that you're not in violation of whatever their policies may be, because ultimately that could affect your ability to get compensation for your sales, right?
Sure. You want to make sure you read those agreements very carefully.
Right. The devil's always in the details.
Right, because every company is a little bit different.
Right.
So you certainly want to make sure that you do your research and, but most of all, have fun. I mean, direct selling is so much fun, no matter, how you're involved in it. It's a great deal of fun.
Well, it sounds like it, Amy. It sounds like you're the perfect person to be out there on the front lines telling everybody about it. Thank you for being on the show today. Everyone, I want you to make sure that you go to DSA.org. That's the website home of the Direct Selling Association. Their telephone number, if you'd like to call them, is 202-452-8866. But if you go there and you're looking for direct sales opportunity, you can visit their member directory. If you also just have some general questions about direct sales and what it is and how it can maybe work for you, they have a really great frequently asked questions section. There's research and publications and just all kinds of information here to help you get started. So I want to make sure you head on over there. And for those of you who would like to know what's coming up on the Lifestyle CEO Show, next week on April 17th, we've got Jim McCaffrey of Sand Hill Advisors. He is going to talk about the importance of transitioning a small business from merely running the business to actually growing the business. And that is a real mindset change for a lot of small business owners, because we're so used to wearing all the hats and doing all the stuff and this and that and the other. But actually, at some point, if you're going to expand and become more profitable, you have to figure out how to grow the business and step away from actually running it. We've also got some other great guests coming up on May 1st. We've got Kathy Townsend. She's a business coach. She's going to talk about how business coaching can help you grow your business and improve your life and your lifestyle and everything else as you grow your business, and some other really great shows coming up. I want you to visit the Lifestyle CEO website at lifestyleceo.com. You can click on radio TV and get some more information about our upcoming shows. I hope that you've enjoyed the show today, and Amy at Direct Selling Association has just provided so much helpful information, and that's what we're here for. So we'll see you next week when Jim McCaffrey of Sand Hill Advisors will be here on April 17th. In the meantime, break all the rules, build your own corporate ladder, and create the life you love. This is Donna Maria signing off. See you next week, guys.
You're listening to GlobalTalkRadio.com.